Politics is downstream from culture, as the late Andrew Breitbart said, and popular entertainment can act as a window into tomorrow's politics. With this in mind, there's a new wave of moral entertainment, from new family-friendly cartoons to clean comedy, that has been enabled by new entertainment platforms that are breaking the monopoly on video entertainment. We recently spoke with two leaders in this field. The first we spoke with was stand-up comedian Keith Stubbs, whose dry bar comedy has revolutionized the comedy business with clean humor. Hey, Keith Stubbs, thanks for being on Crossroads.
Josh, thanks for having me.
So, Keith, you've been in the comedy business a long time, and a lot of people are saying that it's hard to be funny these days because you have so many, sacred cows. There's so much stuff you can't make fun of anymore. So, I mean, what do you... I guess let's start by... How have you seen comedy change with the political environment?
Well, I started doing stand-up comedy professionally in '91, so I've been around it for a long time.
Different era, yeah.
Yeah, and I started in Los Angeles, so I was around all the action that was happening at that time with Sam Kinison, Robin Williams, of course. He was a little before my time, but Pryor was around, Eddie Murphy was around, Arsenio,
and that was
all
back
those guys.
when comedians were like gold.
Yeah,
that was back when you turn on Comedy Central and it was comedians. It wasn't politics, and they were funny.
Yeah, Well, Comedy Central's turned into South Park. South Park episodes, you rarely see stand-up comedy on Comedy Central.
Well, South Park has somehow been able to maintain the ability to make fun of everything, which I don't think many people have that anymore. So, but let's go back. 90s. What was the environment of comedy?
It was pretty much no holds barred. Do what you want. However, when it came to getting your content out to the world, like most of the comedians at that time, the objective was to try to get on a sitcom. So you had your Paul Reisers and your Seinfelds and your Drew Careys and your Rosie O'Donnells and Ellens and all of them. But the angle as a comic at that point was hoping to land a sitcom. That was really the objective. And an appearance on The Tonight Show was huge. That meant almost everything. So if you're on The Tonight Show with FCC regulations and all the other, or into the mainstream networks, it had to be a certain way. So now what you did in the clubs or in theaters was different material. But what they did on network TV obviously was it was monitored more closely.
So this is interesting. Comedians coming in doing their comedy shows, they were aiming to get on the big networks. And was it the big networks that started clamping on the politics side of it? What was that where it came from?
That's pretty much where it came from, but that took a while for it to get there. But honestly, most of the comedians that you saw that performed on like The Tonight Show or even HBO pretty much towed the line, and they were pretty clean when it came to it because, once again, they were hoping to land a big series. It's not that way now, but that's the way it was like in the late 80s, early 90s.
So explain to me what it was like then and kind of how it's changed, because it was different back then. It was funny back then. Saturday Night Live used to be pretty dang witty. Now it's very partisan.
Yeah, I think Saturday Night Live kind of comes and goes based on the cast and based on your perspective. I'm with you on that right now, and I don't know that I'm the target audience for SNL at this point because I watch it. I kind of hate watch it on my own because I just I can't believe this. I do watch it because I'm a comic and I know some of the cast members actually, but from a personal standpoint, it's hard for me to enjoy.
Yeah, so tell me about this then. I mean, what do you think is the heart of comedy? Because I personally feel like most comedy's not that funny anymore.
I would disagree with that. I just think you're not looking in the right place.
I see.
And that's dry bar comedy. So what we've done at dry bar comedy, and I've been doing it a long time. About 5 years ago, there's an underserved population out there. People that would just want to laugh. They don't want to go through all the muck, but they want clean yet really funny comedy. So at Dry Bar, we have filmed 500 comedy specials with comedians that are fantastic, and I'll bet you $50 you haven't heard of. But these are comedians that have worked all over the country. They've honed their craft. They've worked in bars and nightclubs and comedy clubs and theaters and banquet rooms like this. And they've done their gigs and honed their craft, but never really got the opportunity. And it's even tougher now to get that type of an opportunity because of the way the business is run.
We also had the pleasure of speaking with Butch Hartman, a world-renowned animator known for his hit Nickelodeon cartoons, The Fairly OddParents and Danny Phantom, who is now going independent with the new Christian cartoon series, The Garden. Butch Hartman, thanks for being on Crossroads.
I'm excited to be here, Josh. Thanks very much.
So I watched your cartoons as a kid, man. Fairly OddParents.
I feel old. Thanks
Johnny
a lot.
Phantom, yeah.
Danny, you watch Danny Phantom?
Danny Phantom, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, I grew up, of course, when cartoons were like Saturday morning cartoons, and of course, the good stuff came in later for kids. But I understand you left Nickelodeon, and you're going their way now. What made you leave Nickelodeon?
Well, it's interesting. I had such a great time at Nickelodeon. I started there in 1997 when I sold the first short cartoon for Fairly OddParents, and made a bunch of short cartoons in the late 90s. And then by 2001, Fairly OddParents had become a full-blown series, and so the series ran for 18 years.
18 years.
18
wow,
years.
Is it really that long, man?
It really was. It sure was, John. No, but I was at Nickelodeon from 1997 to 2018. So I was there 21 years. And when you're anywhere for 21 years, you're too young to know what that feels like. But it's really a lifetime. And I had such a great run there. And I met such great people, had such great teams. But at the end of that time, it was really time to do this sort of new venture. And I wanted to start going into doing a cartoon for the Christian audience. I really felt led to do that. I got saved in the year 1999 or 2000 actually, and really wanted to do a Christian, vehicle, and was so busy doing Fairly OddParents and all my Nickelodeon stuff that by 2018 it was time to go into that.
So you wanted to kind of create something that has more of like a value for kids, I assume. Is that it?
Well, I think the cartoons I created at Nickelodeon did have value, but I really wanted to teach the Bible as well, because when I was a kid, I came from a very chaotic home. Great people that raised me, but it was still really chaotic. And I didn't have a cartoon like The Garden, this new cartoon I'm doing. I didn't have a cartoon like that would teach me the Bible or things like that. At least I wasn't raised in a house that taught it. So I really wanted to create a cartoon for young kids where they could learn the Bible, learn scripture, and learn how to do things in a biblical way and still have a great life.
Now let's talk a bit about the development of cartoons and kind of where we're at now with it. I remember when I was a kid where you watched, outside the cartoons.
That was 2 weeks ago. You were a kid 2 weeks ago.
A few weeks ago. Where any show you watched, remember Home Improvement?
Oh, yeah.
It always ended with the piano comes on. It's like a moral lesson.
Right.
They all used to have moral lessons. And that was for some reason, that was just an accepted normal thing that shows had.
Yeah.
And I feel like they don't do that anymore. I mean, do you feel this? What happened?
Well, it's interesting. I think that entertainment's become a very interesting place, the entertainment landscape. Certainly in the secular entertainment world, things have changed. But I also think that Christian entertainment really needs to begin to, really excel even more than it has. The thing about me, the stories that I tell, I don't want to beat people over the head with a lesson, really. But I do want them to feel as though they've learned something. But I want to entertain them first. I think kids are told what to do all day long. So by the time they watch a show that I do, I want them to be entertained first. If we can get a lesson in there too, even better. But yeah, I do agree. There's a lot of moral lessons out there. They're harder to find these days, I think.
They are harder to find.
A little bit, yeah.
You're also dealing with a really saturated market too. I mean, video games and iPads. I mean, but maybe in a way, I see people watching boring shows on Netflix. They know they're boring, but they just because they watched everything else already. People binge watch like they didn't used to, binge watch.
Well, here's the thing. There's so many more. Like you say, you grew up in the '90s. I grew up in the '70s. There was no VCR back then. I mean, we had 3 channels on TV, and so now there's 9 billion channels, all really desperate for content. So there's a lot more competition out there for sure.
Well, let's get into that. What it means for kids too, because even when I was a kid. Cartoons were on Saturday, at least when I was a real little kid. Cartoons were on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
I remember when Disney Channel first came out, it was a subscription service, but they gave it for free for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I was wow, there's kid stuff I can watch all the time. This is great.
Yep.
And if you didn't wake up early enough on Saturday, you missed all the fun cartoons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You couldn't even record things when I was a kid. If you missed it, you missed it. It was done. Yeah.
So tell me your breakaway, your decision. What was that moment where you sitting in bed and a light bulb just went off, or was it what was the moment?
Well, like I said, it was one of those things. It wasn't really one particular moment. It wasn't even a moment where anything happened. It was just after 20 years, I realized, it's just time to start doing some other stuff now. 20 years is a lifetime anywhere. I'd done so much great stuff with Fairly OddParents and Danny Fan. By the way, there's a new Fairly OddParents coming out, live action show. It comes out March 31st on Paramount Plus. So they're rebooting Fairly OddParents already, which is real exciting.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But like I said, it was a series of moments I went, I think I want to start doing some stuff on my own. Because I had a lot of ideas I wanted to get going that whenever you pitch a show to a network, it takes years to get made. People don't realize this. It takes years and years to get it made. I didn't want to go through the years and years process anymore of, I'd been there, done that. So I wanted to start making stuff on my own, sink or swim. And I kind of wanted to give it a chance and see what I could do.